This bank was older than the light bulb, older than the telephone, older than most of the countries whose governments it financed. It had stood for 233 years. It took one man, one hidden account, and one weekend to end it. Barings was founded in 1762, Britain's oldest merchant bank, banker to the crown. It had cheated death once before, rescued in the 1890 Argentine crisis by the Bank of England itself. The second time, no one could save it because no one could even see the wound. The popular story blames an earthquake. That story is wrong. The earthquake was the trigger, the cause was structural, and it had been building for 2.5 years before the ground ever moved. At Barings Futures Singapore, one trader ran the desk and the back office at the same time. He placed the trades, and then he settled and reconciled his own trades. In risk terms, that is the cardinal sin, no segregation of duties. He was allowed to mark his own homework. On the 3rd of July, 1992, 2 days after Barings won its trading seat on the Singapore Exchange, Leeson opened error account number 8888. Within days, he had the software altered so that this account was excluded from the daily reports sent back to London. From day one, the concealment was engineered, not improvised. His actual job was almost boring by design. He was authorized to run switching arbitrage, exploiting tiny price gaps in the same Nikkei 225 futures listed on 2 exchanges, Singapore and Osaka, buying on one venue and selling on the other. Long one, short the other. Genuinely low risk, a few ticks of profit per lot, market neutral. That is not what he did. Underneath the arbitrage story, he was running a massive unhedged bet. Long Nikkei futures outright, short Japanese government bond futures, and short Nikkei options. The book that London saw looked flat. The real book was a one-way, leveraged wager on Japan. Here is the trader's read on why this was lethal. By selling both puts and calls, Leeson was short volatility. He was selling insurance that the market would stay quiet. Stack that on top of an outright long, and you have a position that only survives if nothing happens. It bleeds when the market moves and bleeds again when fear rises. Every tick against him triggered a margin call from the exchange in cash the same day. He met those calls 2 ways, by selling more options to harvest the premium, and by inventing reasons for London to wire money to Singapore margin. He claimed that he had to post on behalf of clients. London sent it. Internally, the bank recorded its own draining cash as an asset it was owed back. As the losses grew, Leeson did the one thing a gambler always does and a risk manager never allows. He doubled down. Each loss was answered with a larger position to win it back. The academic reconstruction of his trades confirms it. His net long position grew exponentially as the losses mounted. It had worked once before, in '93, which is exactly what made it fatal. Watch the hole deepen in the account no one could see. End of 1992, a loss of roughly £2 million. End of '93, around 23 million. End of 1994, £208 million, and the bank still believed Leeson was its star. By early 1995, his position had swallowed the market. Barings Futures Singapore was the single largest trader on the exchange, at nearly 9% of total volume. In the March Nikkei contract, Leeson alone held 49% of the open interest, nearly half the market, and about a quarter of the June contract. His short bond position exceeded 28,000 contracts. On the 16th of January 1995, Leeson sold a large short straddle on the Nikkei, betting the index would sit quietly around 19,000. It was a bet on calm. It needed exactly one thing to work, for nothing to happen overnight. At 5:46 in the morning on the 17th of January, the Great Hanshin earthquake struck the city of Kobe. More than 6,400 people were killed. The damage ran into the tens of billions of dollars. The market did the one thing his position could not survive: it moved hard. Both legs lost at once. The short options blew out as volatility spiked, and the long futures cratered as the Nikkei broke its range, sliding from around 19,000 toward the 17,000s and on toward 16,000 by late February. There was no hedge, no offset. So Leeson bought more Nikkei futures, trying to single-handedly lever the index back up. He was now the market, buying into his own collapse. The scale of the reversal is clean in the numbers. His Nikkei options book, worth roughly plus $178 million at the end of December, swung to about minus $108 million by the end of February. $250 million of value, gone from a single book in 8 weeks. On the 23rd of February, Barings could not meet its margin call in Singapore. Leeson fled, leaving behind a note that reportedly read simply, "I'm sorry." By then the loss in account had reached roughly £827 million, about $1.4 billion. The Bank of England spent the weekend trying to arrange a rescue and failed. Because the options position was open-ended, no one could put a ceiling on the losses, and no one buys a bomb still ticking. On the 26th of February, Barings was placed into administration. Days later, the Dutch bank ING bought the whole institution for £1 and assumed its liabilities. Here is the detail that indicts the doubling more than any other. The official inquiry concluded that had Leeson been stopped just 1 month earlier, the total loss would have been roughly a quarter of the final figure, painful but survivable. Barings almost certainly lives. The last 30 days of doubling are what turned a bad trade into an extinction. And the man himself. Leeson did not steal the money, it evaporated into the market, and he fled with nothing. What he stole was the truth. The profits everyone celebrated were largely fictitious, manufactured by booking phantom gains in the reported accounts while dumping the real losses into tate. In 1994 alone, he fabricated roughly £28 million of profit. The Golden Boy was insolvent by 9 figures the entire time. The Bank of England's post-mortem was blunt, a virtually total failure of risk management systems and internal controls. Barings became the textbook case. The reason no trader today is permitted to settle his own trades, the reason head offices cap the cash they wire to fund margin, the reason exchanges now flag when one player holds half a contract. Leeson served 4 years of a 6.5-year sentence in a Singapore prison. So file this one correctly. Barings was not killed by an earthquake, and it was not killed by a math genius. It was killed because it let one man make the bets and mark his own homework, then wired him 9 figures of real cash to feed a book it never audited. The short volatility trade was always structurally lethal. Kobe was just the variable that finally arrived.